Hi, this is Boy, and I'm gonna do a spoiler-free video explaining the Evangelion watch order. I just finished watching every single anime in the entire franchise. It took a while, but I did it. But it was hard to figure out how to watch it because the names of some of these movies and stuff they're really weird. Like Rebuild of Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.11. That is actually the title of one of the movies. And I was like, what does this even mean? But luckily I was able to watch them all in the right order, so that was good. But I had to do a bunch of research. And so I wanted to make this video and share what I learned so that you guys can have the best experience possible when watching the Evangelion anime. I spent literally 10 hours writing the script of this video. Like, it's more than 10 hours. It took forever. Because it goes over literally every anime in the franchise, and I tried my best to explain it in a way that you guys can understand. So, before we get into the watch order, I figured I'd give an overview of just what Evangelion is, in case you're not familiar with it. So, Evangelion is a universe created by Hideaki Anno. He's the guy that directed and or managed the story for pretty much everything in the franchise. There's only a couple of things that he hasn't touched, but he's considered the father of Evangelion. Fun fact, if you're a fan of Studio Ghibli, Hideaki Anno started his career working on Nausicaa of the Valley of Wind and Grave of the Fireflies. He's also a voice actor for the main character in The Wind Rises, so he has a good relationship with Hayao Miyazaki. Anyways, Hideaki Anno is the creator of Evangelion, where there's these giant aliens called angels, and they start the apocalypse. These angels destroy cities and shoot lasers. It's crazy. And then a 14-year-old boy named Shinji gets wrapped up into becoming the hero that defeats these aliens by controlling a giant robot thing. The robot things are called Evas. Throughout the series, Shinji struggles with mental health because the pressure of saving the freaking world from a giant alien apocalypse is a lot for a 14-year-old boy to handle. Evangelion is a really cool anime to watch because giant robots blowing up stuff is awesome. And then there's the deeper story of Shinji and how he's going to deal with his mental health because of this massive responsibility that's placed upon him to save the world from aliens. And content warning here, Evangelion is not for kids. I recommend being 18 years old or older because this franchise is brutal. Like, it has mature themes, it has some gore, a lot of blood. Like, there's a lot of blood, and pretty heavy sexual content. There's a thing called the IMBD Parents Guide if you want to learn more of the specifics. That's the premise of Evangelion, so let's talk about the watch order. Evangelion currently has a TV show, a ton of movies, some animated short films, and some remakes and recap stuff. A brand new TV show is currently in development, but it is unclear how that will fit into the watch order, so I'll make a video about that when the TV show actually comes out. This is going to be as little spoilers as possible. First thing to watch, the TV show. Okay, this is the thing that started it all. It's 26 episodes long. It was released in 1999, so it's like classic 90s anime. The anime was not based on a manga, so it's original. There is a manga that exists, but it was not the inspiration for the TV show. Hideaki Anno came up with the story by himself before anyone else did. Everything in the Evangelion franchise traces back to the TV show in one way or another, so you should definitely watch the TV show. After the show, there's a movie, and the movie is called The End of Evangelion. I think the context behind how this movie was made is important and will help you understand the watch order, so let's get into that. The Evangelion TV show has a controversial ending, so a bunch of people complained to Hideaki Anno about it. there was a strong desire from the fans for Hideaki Anno to change the ending. The end of Evangelion movie is basically Hideaki Anno's response to his fans' complaints. This movie is not a sequel. It is technically a remake of episodes 25 and 26 of the original TV show. You can actually see text boxes in the movie that say episode 25 and episode 26 because it is what the title suggests. It's the end of Evangelion. When I was watching the movie, I didn't realize that it was a remake of the last two episodes. And so I talked to some friends afterwards and I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like, I wish I knew that before starting the movie. So there you go. You guys should know that. You might be tempted to skip episode 25 and 26 to watch the movie, but do not do that, okay? No. You will want to see the original TV show ending before starting the movie. Comparing the two different endings is part of the fun of watching the end of Evangelion. So, the next thing to talk about is the recap movie. This is called Neon Genesis Evangelion Death and Rebirth. This came out before the end of Evangelion did, but I don't think the movie is important. Like, honestly, you can just skip this recap. It was made for people who watched the TV shows a couple of years ago but forgot what it's about, so they wanted a refresher on the important parts of the story. But if you just watch the TV show and the end of Evangelion right next to each other, then there's no reason to see a recap because you already remember everything. So I recommend watching 10 minutes of Death and Rebirth. There's some enhanced flashbacks and musical performances that are sprinkled into the movie. Those things give some additional lore that I thought was cool. So if you want to see those, watch the first 3 minutes of the movie and then skip around. You'll find the musical performances like here and there, so you just gotta look for them in the movie. Those aren't in the TV show or the end of Evangelion. Those are only in Death and Rebirth. The next installments of the franchise are the rebuild movies. What are the rebuilds? Like, it's such a weird term. The rebuild movies are 4 movies that are inspired by the original Evangelion TV show, but the story is told in an alternate timeline. Because guess what? It rebuilds Evangelion. So each different movie has a number, and it goes like 1, 2, 3, but then the 4th one is super weird. It's called 3+1. So there's a story behind that. The 4th rebuild movie was planned to be released on the same day as the 3rd rebuild movie, but it got delayed by 9 years. So it came out in 2021, but they're supposed to be like the same story. So that's why it's called 3+1. But going over the rebuilds, the first movie is a remake. It tells the exact same story as episodes 1 through 5 of the TV show. When this movie was released, most people were like, oh, does this mean that every single rebuild is going to be a remake? Like, that's crazy. But this is not the case, okay? They're not all remakes. The more rebuilds that you watch, the more you'll see that the story deviates from the original TV show. It's like a gradual thing. Over time, you'll see these tiny little differences. I think that it's best to watch the TV show and End of Evangelion first, and then get into the rebuilds, because part of the fun of watching the rebuilds is spotting those differences, you know? Oh, so they changed this thing there, or they changed this thing there. And that's like, I think the intention of the movies is, if things were different, this is how it would be. But if you watch the rebuild movies blind, you won't have that experience, you know? You gotta see the TV show and the End of Evangelion first, so that you can see the differences in the rebuilds. I think that's part of the magic of Evangelion, is that They change the timelines and they change the story, but it's in a significant way that you want to figure out. Something I need to explain with the rebuild movies is that there are alternate versions. Like, there are 4 rebuild movies, but there are technically 11 different versions. So that's fine, right? Like, it's not a problem if you have 11 versions of your movie. Like, that's totally easy for a fan to understand and get into, right? But I'm gonna explain the multiple versions and how they work so that you can watch the best version of the rebuild movies. Generally speaking, like zooming out, when a movie has multiple versions, it usually means the theatrical version is not the same as a release for physical home media. Physical home media is like VHS, DVDs, Blu-rays, stuff like that. But they can have different versions because the director will change the movie after the theatrical release and then put the changed movie into the Blu-ray or whatever. And it increases the desire for people to buy the Blu-ray because they get a better version. Every time they released a Blu-ray, Hideaki Anno would update the movies a little bit and change it a little bit. The new versions of the rebuilds include entirely new animated scenes and also improvements to already existing scenes. But the thing about the rebuild versions is that they don't change the story. Hideaki Anno just wanted to make the rebuilds sound better and look better than the original theatrical release, but he didn't actually want to change the story. So if you watch a different version of the rebuild, it's fine. Like, the story doesn't change. But how do you know if you're watching the best version? Especially if there's 11 of them. The best way I can explain this is, you know how when you update a video game or, update a app on your phone, the first time you download the app or the video game, it's the 1.0 version. But after a while, the developers will create updates, so you have to download the 1.01 version of the game or of the app. The rebuild movies literally use the exact same terminology. Like, literally, there are numbers that tell you which version of the movie you're watching. It's exactly the same. I'm going to explain each of the numbers and what changed between the numbers, but generally speaking, the more numbers, like the more digits there are, that means that the movie is updated more and has a newer version. This is an official graph of all of the current versions of the rebuild movies. I say current because I wouldn't be surprised if they got new versions in the future, so just keep that in mind, and then you would want to check and see if there's a new version with more numbers. The most recent versions of the rebuilds are 1.11, 2.22, 3.333, and 3.0 plus 1.11. Please be aware that Amazon Prime is the main place to watch the rebuilds, at least in America, but Amazon does not have all of the updated versions. They have 1.11, they have 2.22, but they're missing the updated versions for the 3rd rebuild movie and the 4th rebuild movie, so you'll have to find those elsewhere. I'm a huge physical media nerd, so I'm going to go over the different versions, but just know more digits, better quality. That's it. The first version of Evangelion 1.0, You Are Not Alone, is the theatrical version. Evangelion 1.01 is the DVD release, which enhanced 266 already existing shots of the movie. But it did not add any new shots, so there's that. The third version is Evangelion 1.11, You Are Not Alone, which came out with the Blu-ray. This version has all of the improvements that were made in the other version, but it also has brand new animated scenes and some enhanced scenes. So there's new stuff that isn't in the DVD. 1.11 is the newest release. Next is the second Evangelion rebuild. You Cannot Advance is the first version is 2.0. That's the theatrical version, but it only had one physical media release that changed. So Evangelion 2.22 is the DVD and Blu-ray version that adds some scenes and improves the quality of already existing scenes. It does not change the story, so that's good. Let's go to the third rebuild movie. 3.0 is the theatrical release. 3.33, You Cannot Redo, that's the Blu-ray version, which added new animation and improved existing animation. But the next one's really interesting. So there's one called 3.333. This version made it so that the movie would have the same animation quality as the fourth rebuild. The fourth rebuild came out 9 years later, so there's kind of like a difference in animation quality. So Studio Kara and Hideaki Anno, they worked hard to clean up the third rebuild to look like it came out in 2021 instead of 2012. And then the final rebuild movie is Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0, Thrice Upon a Time. That's the theatrical version. And then the next version is 3.0 plus 1.01. This version was uploaded onto Amazon Prime, and it improved some of the animation shots. I mentioned earlier that Amazon Prime does not have the best version because this one was a 2021 release, but there's a version of the movie that came out in 2023 and was released on 4K Blu-ray, and it's 3.0 plus 1.11. This version does not add any scenes, but it does redo the animation to make stuff look better. All of the movies have been released on 4K Blu-ray in Japan, so you can find 4K versions of every single one of these movies. That's all of the versions explained, so just make sure to watch the one with the most digits. Next, I'm going to go into the short films. So Evangelion has anime shorts, and there's quite a few of them, but I'll break down the watch order for each one. The first one, I love this one so much. Oh my gosh. Evangelion is the name of a video made by the Battle Cats development team. Battle Cats is a video game you can play on your phone, but Evangelion is a 90-second video that was a collab between Battle Cats and Evangelion. It's a spoof on the anime opening. The anime opening is Cruel Angel's Thesis. I recently watched the interview with the singer, and she said, the Battle Cats Corporation contacted me to sing nyans for the song. And nyan is a noise that they make in Japan for a cat. And so she's like, heck yeah, that sounds awesome, let's do it. And I'm like, wow, that is awesome. I've watched Evangelion like 6 times, but it still cracks me up because it's so funny and it's really well made. You can watch Evangelion after just episode 1 of the TV show because that's when the opening plays, so I'll link Evangelion in the description because it's on YouTube, so. The next short is Petite Eva, Evangelion at School. This is a goofy short anime that has 24 episodes, but each one is 2 minutes long, so they go by pretty fast. I suppose that Petite Eva is in an alternate timeline, but it's just like a spoof comedy. It makes fun of Evangelion, and it has a bunch of gag jokes, like, you're not supposed to take Petite Eva seriously whatsoever. I laughed really hard when watching Petite Eva because it was like I was watching Looney Tunes. It has an outdated art style, so don't expect like great animation or great character models. It was made by like 7 dudes in a basement in 2008. Like the quality is not high. And so like comparing Pixar characters to the CGI models for Petite Eva, it's like night and day, okay? But I still think that it's worth watching because it's really funny. The next 2 shorts I'm going to talk about, these are both 1 episode each. They're 5 minutes long. One of them is called Until You Come to Me, and the other one is called Evangelion, Another Impact, in parentheses, Confidential. Both of these shorts were released at what's called the Japan Animators Exposition, which is a convention where a bunch of animators get together and then they hang out and have fun. So when you try to watch these, you'll probably need to Google Japan Animators Exposition Episode 7, Until You Come to Me, and then Japan Animators Exposition Episode 12, Evangelion, Another Impact, Confidential. Until You Come to Me is awesome. Like, I really, really like that short. I gave it an easy 10 out of 10. But you need to watch Rebuild Movie 3, You Cannot Redo, because the short film is like a sequel to Rebuild Movie 3. The location of the short is the exact same location that shows up right before the credits of Rebuild Movie 3. The other one, Evangelion, Another Impact, Confidential. This is one of my favorite things from the franchise. I love this short film. It was really good. It is a found footage anime. Just found footage in anime is like so rare. That's a genre that doesn't show up very often. And it uses hyper-realistic animation to give it that found footage vibe. I was really, really happy to see something this unique in the Evangelion franchise, but you have to watch Rebuild Movie 3, You Cannot Redo, because Another Impact Confidential expects you to have all of the knowledge from the 3rd Rebuild movie. So, next let's talk about Evangelion Hakata, Angel Attack Alternative. This is actually a water fountain light show. If you have watched water fountain light shows from Disneyland, it's like that. It has an anime thing that's part of the light show, so I think it's relevant to talk about. There's an official recording of this light show that I'll link into the description. There's some spoilers in Evangelion Hakata for Evangelion 3. So, in the Blu-ray release of the 4th Rebuild movie, Thrice Upon a Time, you can find Evangelion 3.0 minus 46 hours. This is a 10-minute animated short film that takes place 46 hours before the start of the 3rd Rebuild movie. So it's like a prequel. Even though it's a prequel to Evangelion 3.0, you have to watch Rebuild Movie 4 because the short movie assumes you have all of the information that shows up in the 4th Rebuild movie. So watch all of the rebuilds, and then after that, you can come back and see Evangelion 3.0 minus 46 hours. I thought it was really cool. So there, also in the bonus features of the 4th rebuild, there's a 17-page manga that's called Evangelion 3.0 minus 120 minutes. I know that it's a manga, but there's this cool thing that happened where the anime voice actors did an official reading, so I wanted to bring it up because of that. It's the same thing where it's a prequel to the 3rd Rebuild movie, but you have to watch Rebuild 4 because this manga has spoilers, or it assumes you have the information for the 4th Rebuild movie. So watch all of the rebuilds before seeing either of those 2 things. And the last thing to talk about is the Evangelion 30th anniversary special. This was officially released on YouTube and has over 5 million views. You cannot watch this short until you have watched the TV show, End of Evangelion, and all of the rebuilds. Like, you need to see everything before starting the 30th anniversary special. The target audience of this special are fans who have seen it all, and there's tons of spoilers for all of those things. So make sure to watch the End of Evangelion and Rebuild Movie 4. Don't let that discourage you from watching it. Like, it's worth it. I love the 30th anniversary special, and I think it's a very unique experience that's only possible with a franchise that's as weird and complicated as Evangelion. Like, it makes fun of how crazy the franchise is, and I really appreciated it. Well, that's it. That's everything. And now I get to show off this nice graph that I made, and it has everything like set up with arrows so that you can go in order. Some of the stuff is optional, like the shorts are optional, but this is the optimal Evangelion watch order, because the way that Evangelion works is every installment kind of like assumes you have prior knowledge of other things in the franchise. So there's a pretty clear line that you have to take to watch everything in order. I spent a lot of time making this video, so please like and subscribe. That would help me a lot. I'll make sure to do spoiler reviews of all of the anime in Evangelion. I think that's going to be really fun, so look out for that. But I'll do that in another video. Thanks for watching. Bye.